Hi, everyone. So here we are
Hi.
for our Q&A. Thank you so much for your questions. So we're going to get started to give you some answers. And we got some interesting things going on this week, probably also because we were talking a lot about anger on social media.
Anger always stirs up so much stuff, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a powerful, complex thing.
Hmm.
So the first question we have is, how to process your anger when your anger causes you so much guilt.
Mm.
It's a very interesting, very complex thing.
That's a really good question. And especially, I mean, I don't want to be gender specific, but I know a lot of women struggle with this because we're taught as women that you shouldn't be angry, you shouldn't feel angry. And then sometimes, so it'll bring up a lot of guilt. Like, I shouldn't be feeling like this. Okay, what I would say really is the key to this is to separate out the anger from the guilt. So, and recognizing that the anger that you're having, it's okay to have that anger. It doesn't matter what it's about. Um, Recognize that the anger is okay and see if you can separate it from the guilt and then allow yourself to feel the anger. Then you can express it, you can process it, all that kind of stuff. Might seem easier said than done, but I think awareness is key here. Like, okay, what
Mhm.
part of this is anger? And then what part of this is guilt about anger? Because then you can get into this like anger, shame, guilt cycle that just kind
Yeah,
of like tears you down. Where if it's just about the anger, acknowledge the anger, express the anger, process the anger, then, detach from the anger. Um, but if it's about the guilt and the shame attached to the anger, you can't do that process of processing the anger. You just get stuck in this cycle of like ruminating about the anger and then feeling bad about the anger and feeling guilty about the anger. You know what I mean? So,
absolutely.
number one, separate out what is the anger, validate it, and separate from the guilt or the shame about it.
Yes, and I think
That's what I
that's
would.
so important. Thank you for pointing that out because I think that sometimes people get stuck in that cycle and it's hard to separate because maybe they feel anger as a result of this person said this or this person did this, and so they think, then if I'm angry at this person, I'm bad. It's like I'm
Right,
saying I'm bad because I'm saying they're bad. And it's like, no, anger is a feeling.
right,
If you think
exactly.
about what it feels like in your body, it's just a feeling.
Right.
And it's important for you to process it.
Yeah. So, like the guilt about the anger, let's say, take that example. I'm bad for feeling that way about them. How is that helping with the anger at all? Does it help you process the anger? Does it help you? No, it just piles on top of it. So it's like,
Mhm.
what are you doing then? Like, how is that productive in any way, shape, or form? It's not.
Mhm.
It's not helping at all. It just piles on. Yeah.
Yeah. And like the conversation we were having, this week, it's like when you're processing your anger, allowing it to be and try to like separate it from the guilt, whoever you're angry with is not there.
Exactly.
It's okay,
Right.
it's
Right.
you can just feel it for what it is so that it doesn't tense up in your body.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just kind of go one step at a time with
Yep.
what's anger,
I mean,
what's
this
guilt.
really, yeah, this really goes back to our initial thing, which is awareness is key.
Yeah.
And the more aware you become all the time, like just kind of stay mindful all the time and stay present with what is, acknowledging from an observer's standpoint. Okay, what's the anger? What does it feel like? And what is it about? Not that I feel bad for feeling angry or I'm I'm bad for feeling angry. There's
Mhm.
something wrong with me for feeling angry. Um, because that's a judgment about the anger, and that's going to
Mhm.
take you nowhere good.
Yeah, absolutely. And an interesting spin on anger that's a bit different is in our second question, which
Okay.
is why do I feel more motivated when I'm angry? Which I think is a great question.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Um, okay. Well, my answer to this is again, anger is, we're taught that anger is like a bad thing and you need to rise above it if you want to, be productive or be good or be whatever. Honestly, anger has been one of my best motivators in life. And I think it can be a great motivator. Like when you're angry, the anger is telling you that something is wrong, something's not working for you, right? If
Hmm.
you can utilize that and use it productively, like, okay, I'm angry about my life, whatever it is in my life, because it's not the way that I want it to be. If I can use that to mobilize myself to create the change that I want, um, okay, actually, perfect example for me, I had a panic disorder for many
Hmm.
years that like shut me down and made me really like I was non-functional a lot of the time. I had to almost get so angry about what I was missing out on, and
Hmm.
the anger about the panic actually is what motivated me to get in there and go to therapy and figure it out and work with it. So I say acknowledge and honor the anger and let it help you be productive. Of course, there is that anger when it starts spinning, like we were talking about. Then you get in this cycle of anger, and then it works against you, and it's counterproductive. So you have to know when, where the line is. But you can absolutely let anger be your greatest motivator. Also, let's say, I mean, I've had some clients who have been in very bad relationships, toxic relationships, that they've used the anger about how they're being treated to help get
Yeah,
themselves out of the situation. So, yes, anger can be very motivating. Use it for that motivation. Use it to help compel you to, to fix whatever's not working.
absolutely. I think what you shared is so powerful because we also have been talking about how when we feel angry, something has been violated,
Right.
a boundary, a need, our
Right.
sense of identity. So yeah, the idea of use the anger to get out of situations that don't serve you, use the anger to figure out, you know, find your compass
Yeah,
almost. I feel like
totally.
it's so interesting because when we're angry, we're also so in touch with our identity on some level. Like
Yes,
we are protecting who we are when we're angry.
totally.
And of course, not that that's the only way we want to do it, which kind of takes me to the next question, which is,
Mhm.
how can I maintain my motivation, not just through anger, but through a lot of other things?
Yeah. So we're talking about motivation through anger. I mean, that was interesting that we
Hmm.
got these two questions. They're kind of like different sides of the coin.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So when you use anger as your motivation, it can be a weird switch to like use something else as your motivation. And I think it goes back to always remembering, let's say like in the context of art or in the
Hmm.
context of being a performer. Um, you can use your anger in a kind of I'm going to show them kind of way,
Yeah.
and lots of people do.
Hmm.
um but that can wear thin after a while.
Yeah.
So I would say in the kind of performance context, in the artist context, always plug back into what's my purpose for doing what I'm doing, right? Why am I doing this in the first place? Plug back into the inspiration, plug back into the passion, plug back into the joy, about doing what you're doing, and that can be just as good of a motivator.
Yeah.
But I think having a balance with using, yes, use the inspiration and joy, and when the anger's there about something, as long as the anger's there, use it as a motivator. Is basically the point. Don't create anger to use as a motivator. Like, I would say it would be a much better option to use inspiration or passion or joy or whatever connection as a motivator. That didn't really
Yeah.
answer the question, did it?
No, I think it did actually. And that's exactly what I was thinking about too, because at the end of the day, the motivation is so related to the purpose.
Yeah.
Sometimes the anger, it's like a push when we are resisting, when we're doubtful, when there's a lot of the resistance that we always talk about in our line of work. Sometimes
Yeah.
anger is like what launches the person out of I can no longer accept this.
Right. Exactly.
Where I'm at no longer works. I'm angry, and that launches me out, and I
Hmm.
feel so motivated. And then that also connects to pride.
Right.
If I'm angry because there's a violation of identity, that puts me in
Exactly.
touch with the pride of who I am. And I have pride because I'm passionate about what I do and what I want to say. And it's like
Totally.
there's such a rainbow of emotions and motivation there, I think. Such a
Yeah.
vast, yeah. So when you
Yeah,
said
for
purpose, I was
sure.
like, yeah, that is so exactly what I was thinking too.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for these amazing questions. We're
Yeah, it's
always
really
very
fun
intrigued.
answering this stuff. I mean, answering, just kind of giving perspective on this. And but this
Exactly.
anger especially has been a really kind of interesting exploration, especially with like the comments and the questions and the like new ways of thinking about it because again, like in our society, we're taught that like anger is a bad thing. And if we kind of like destigmatize that and just no, anger is a normal, natural thing to feel as a human.
Yeah.
So it's now the important thing is how do we process it? How do we metabolize it? How do we then um, use it in productive ways rather than destructive ways?
Exactly. Exactly. Also, because this month we're talking so much about audition and creation fears, and
Right.
anger is so entangled
Oh
to
yeah.
all that.
Yeah.
So incredibly entangled to those blocks and the
Yep.
anger about the blocks, but the anger can also push you out of the blocks. It's just so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon.
See you next time.